The most heinous crime on the books is what each and every one of these folks has been found guilty of.
Genesee County Prosecutor David Leyton raising concerns tonight for murder victims and their families days after a Michigan Supreme Court ruling. This ruling affects anyone convicted of first-degree murder and serving a life sentence without parole who was 19 or 20 years old when the crime occurred. Those inmates could now face a resentencing hearing. In a 5-2 opinion, justices with the Michigan Supreme Court say life in prison without parole is unconstitutional and a cruel punishment for 19 and 20-year-olds. The Michigan Department of Corrections tells me there are nearly 580 offenders statewide who could face resentencing hearings.
The Supreme Court extended the Miller v. Alabama rule to say that young people's brains haven't fully developed, so they don't know the consequences of their action when they commit a first-degree murder.
Miller v. Alabama was a case heard by the U.S. Supreme Court in 2012. It found mandatory life sentences for children under 17 convicted of homicide unconstitutional. If a juvenile is facing this penalty, the judge is required to hold what is called a Miller hearing, which means they have to consider several factors when deciding if the person should in fact serve that life sentence. Now, with this new decision, the Michigan Supreme Court has extended the age limit past 17.
We're not talking about having just a separate court to adjudicate crimes committed by young people. We're talking about taking life without parole off the table retroactively for the most heinous crimes ever committed, first-degree murder. And all these families who thought they had closure now are going to have to relive what happened to their loved one.
Genesee County Prosecutor David Leyton says he doesn't know yet how many cases his office will have.
We're waiting for the Department of Corrections to tell us how many 19 and 20-year-olds are doing life without parole from a Genesee County conviction. Then and only then can I begin to fully understand what resources I'm going to have to put to this. I can tell you one thing, I don't have them.
Leyton and other prosecutors will have a limited time to hear the cases, and there's a possibility many people already serving a life sentence will be released.
This is absolutely a public safety issue.
Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel tells me that she's concerned for the victims and their families.
You now have people who thought, okay, that's over and done with. We had that trial. We did that 20 years ago. And now all of a sudden you're going to have to locate those people and ask them to come back in for these court proceedings.
The Michigan Department of Corrections is still working on collecting data on the breakdown of the 579 offenders and what counties their cases were originally heard in so that they can be resentenced.